We've all been there, right? A truly bad night's sleep. But what if it's more than just being tired the next day? What if it's actually a signal, a clue, to a hidden battle that's happening inside your body?
You know the feeling. You're lying in bed, you're exhausted, but your brain just decides to run a marathon. You're staring at the ceiling and it feels completely out of your control. It is just so common. And our first instinct is to blame the usual suspects, isn't it? That cup of coffee we had a little too late, a super stressful day at work, or maybe just staring at our phones for too long. And hey, a lot of the time, those are totally valid reasons.
But what if I told you that all that tossing and turning could actually be a side effect of your immune system being on high alert? Today, we're going to dig into the really surprising science that connects our sleepless nights to inflammation. Okay, so before we get into the really deep science, let's get on the same page about what we're talking about. This isn't just about one or two rough nights. We're talking about a legitimate clinical disorder. So what's the actual line between just having a few bad nights of sleep and having a genuine medical condition? Well, the definition is actually pretty specific.
For an official diagnosis, it's not just a feeling. It's got to be trouble sleeping at least 3 nights a week, and this is key, it has to go on for more than 3 months. The final piece of the puzzle is that it has to be messing up your ability to function during the day. It's that combination of frequency, duration, and impairment that makes it a real disorder.
And get this is not some rare problem. Not at all. Research shows that a staggering 10 to 20% of the population suffers from insomnia disorder. That could be 1 out of every 5 people you know. It's a huge deal. All right, so to understand what goes wrong with insomnia, we first have to understand how sleep is supposed to work. And believe it or not, it all starts with this tiny but incredibly powerful clock that's buried deep inside your brain. It's really a beautiful system. When light from the outside world enters your eyes, it sends a signal to a little spot in your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN for short. Now think of the SCN as the conductor of a massive orchestra. It takes that light cue and uses it to sync up the daily rhythms of literally every single cell in your body. It's wild. And if you zoom in even further, the biology is it's so elegant. Deep inside our cells, a pair of proteins, and you gotta love the names, they're called clock and BMAL1. They act just like a molecular seesaw. They build up and then they break down, over and over in this perfect 24-hour rhythm, telling your body when to feel sleepy and when to feel wide awake. Okay, so that's the ideal, a perfectly tuned clock. But what happens when that clock gets thrown off? Well, this is where our story takes a really interesting turn, connecting the world of sleep with the world of our immune system. So a whole bunch of scientific research, like this paper from 2022, has found a direct link. When we don't get enough sleep, our brain chemistry actually changes. Levels of these specific immune messengers, these pro-inflammatory molecules, start to creep up. And one of the main ones we're talking about here is called interleukin-1 beta, or just IL-1 beta. Now here's the twist, and it's a really fascinating one. These immune molecules, like IL-1 beta, they're actually supposed to make you sleepy. They're part of your body's natural system for saying, hey, time to rest and recover. The problem is, they have to be in this delicate balance with chemicals that keep you awake, like norepinephrine. But when your sleep is chronically messed up, that balance gets thrown completely out of whack. It's like your immune system is screaming, go to sleep, but your brain is too wired to actually listen. So what's actually triggering this whole inflammatory response? Well, say hello to the inflammasomes. The best way to think about these is like tiny security guards inside your cells. When they sense danger, like the stress that comes from not sleeping, they sound the alarm, and that's what activates those IL-1 beta molecules. It's a defense mechanism that, when it's always on, can ironically end up keeping you awake. So we've got this vicious cycle, right? A disrupted clock leads to an overactive immune system, which then makes it even harder to sleep. So how on earth do you break out of it? Well, it turns out it's not about fighting your body. It's about retraining your brain. Medical guidelines are super clear on this. The best place to start, the gold standard, is a specialized therapy called CBTI. It's a program, it doesn't involve drugs, and it basically helps you unlearn all the thoughts and behaviors that are fueling the insomnia. The problem, and it's a huge one, is access. There just aren't nearly enough trained therapists to go around. So this leads to a very modern question. Could technology help fill that gap? A recent, really large-scale clinical trial set out to answer that exact question. To figure this out, researchers set up a big, rigorous study. They got over 300 adults with insomnia from all over the US, and as you can see, they randomly split them into two groups. One group got a digital CBTI program called SleepyORX. The other group, the control group, just got the standard online sleep hygiene tips. Then they just tracked them for several weeks to see what happened.
And the results? They were pretty dramatic. Here's the headline. People using the digital CBTI program were nearly 6 times, 5.8 times to be exact, more likely to have their insomnia go into full remission compared to the people who just got the basic advice. That's a game changer.
And you can really see the difference right here. The group that used the digital therapy saw this massive drop in how severe their insomnia was. It just completely dwarfed the tiny improvement that the control group saw. The data speaks for itself.
But the benefits didn't just stop with sleep, and this part is so important. The study found that as people's sleep got better, so did other things. The digital CBTI group also saw significant improvements in their symptoms of depression and anxiety. It just goes to show how deeply connected our sleep is to our overall mental health. So, after all that, what does this mean for the millions of people who are stuck staring at the ceiling every night? Well, the picture is definitely getting clearer.
I think the biggest takeaway from all of this science is that insomnia isn't just a simple problem, and it's not all in your head. It's this complex dance between our brain's internal clock, our daily habits, and our body's own powerful defense system. It's a physiological issue, not just a psychological one.
And this brings us to one last pretty provocative thought. We know that effective treatments exist, but getting to them is a huge barrier for so many. So, with this new evidence showing that digital therapies can actually work, it makes you wonder, in the future, could the most powerful prescription for a good night's sleep not be a pill, but an app on your phone?